Welcome back to our Diabetically Speaking with SmartMove360 podcast. And for those who just found us, welcome. We are happy that you found us because every week we are preparing great content for you, and let's do it. Hello again. Hello, this is Irina Strunina, Diabetically Speaking with SmartMove360. And today I have a guest, very special person, Mindy Green. She gracefully agreed to meet with me today. And Mindy, please tell a little bit about yourself so our listeners and who is watching could learn about you.
Certainly. So I am Mindy Green. I am a former school social worker turned certified parenting coach. And I just have such a love for building strong families that have resilience, going through these different things that we go through in life, raising children and in our personal lives too. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Great. So, the reason why I wanted to have Mindy on our show is because on our podcast, on our events that we have, in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, the topic about families is very important. I feel it is very important because let's face it, that you cannot separate yourself from the family when you have whatever disease or challenge you have. Family is around, kids are around, kids are watching us, and unfortunately, very often when they are not informed, they think that they caused the problem, and because they feel this way, they act similar way. And I wanted to have a professional to speak about it with us and maybe give us some ideas, suggestions how we can speak with our kids more effectively, how we could keep them calm, keep them supportive, and all this. So let's talk about, I will just step by step. One thing that I feel that people with diabetes often are trying to hide from their families, this is their diagnosis. And I believe that it's not the best approach. We cannot succeed in our activities if people around us don't know what we are doing. Diabetes is not a sprint; it's a marathon. It's a long distance to go, and for a week you could hide the secret, but eventually you will have to let the secret out. So the question would be, why it is important for kids to know about diabetes as a diagnosis in general, not related to themselves, to parents, to anyone, just to know about diabetes. Uh, what do you think about it, Mindy?
So you brought up a couple of interesting things. The first one being that sometimes we don't want to share with our loved ones a struggle that we're going through. And for whatever reason, that could be because we think this is a sign of weakness. We're embarrassed. There's some shame there that we haven't maybe been taking care of ourselves the way that we should be. And we don't want to open ourselves up to criticism or questions that we may not be prepared to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So my heart goes out to those who are newly diagnosed and who may be struggling with those feelings of, uncertainty. What does this mean for their future? And what I would say is that I think it's really important for your family and your children to know because they're one of your greatest support systems. So, don't cut yourself off from an area of support. And it's really important, especially for your kids to understand, because they're going to school now with kids who have all kinds of different diagnoses. So they have some kids who are being monitored in their classrooms, and they may hear the beeping sound of the monitor that's being used. And for them to recognize that this is part of life, and to, I don't want to say, well, I guess, yes, to normalize it, that this isn't something that means it's a death sentence. It's not something
Mm,
that to be scared of, but
yeah,
that we can bring some awareness to it, so that when they do run into people, and it could be their teacher, it could be their principal, it could be anyone at school, or it could be a classmate.
yeah.
So for them to have that understanding that every people in their everyday lives get this.
Definitely, definitely. Um, this is something that very often people not getting enough information, and that's why we type 2 diabetes in most cases is diagnosed with adults. Sometimes, unfortunately, we see younger kids being diagnosed with that now, but it's common to think that you get this diagnosis later in life.
Mhm.
And for but even that, people being diagnosed at their 50s, their 60s, they don't know much because from the young age we were kind of protected from this information somehow. We are fed all sorts of information, but not about health. And if we did a better job with that, we probably, as a society, could avoid a lot of challenges that we are facing right now. And one of those is self care. Somehow we designate this act to somebody else. Our mom should take care of us, our parents should take care of us, our coaches should take care of us, the school, the doctors, the nurses, and I will just be, and they will take care of me. But if I don't participate in this activity, I this is something that only I can say that it's working for me. This is what I enjoy, and this is what makes me feel better. Or this is that hurts me, and you continuing doing this for me, it hurts me more. If I don't participate, if I don't speak out, nobody will know, and I will be just suffering in silence. So,
Yes, I really think that this comes up with personal responsibility and advocating for ourselves and what we
mm,
need. And so I think of this as, again, part of our support network. It's resourcing. What resources do we need in our lives? And self care is part of that. And I think as adults, um, it behooves us. It really is important for us to recognize that when we take care of ourselves, then we're giving our kids a wonderful example, a model of how to deal with challenges and how to be healthier, and just to build a level of trust within our families and in our communities, right? Because when we share our struggles, and perhaps being newly diagnosed, for instance, with diabetes, that there's really something to be said for that, because that vulnerability actually makes us stronger.
definitely, definitely. And as you said in the beginning, for kids, for example, to see their parents, maybe, well, not all of us were raised in a well-informed families, and until we knew that we need to know more, we didn't do it. Once we learned certain things about self-care, about different diagnoses, or potentially getting this diagnosis, and we start acting on it, learn information, apply it to our lifestyle, apply it to ourselves, and kids see it, they may ask what happened, right? Why
Yes.
we all of a sudden threw away all the Coca-Cola from refrigerator. It was so nice to have it. It's so refreshing, and suddenly it's all gone. Having this conversation could be helpful to kids, I think, also to understand that it's not only me who got this diagnosis and now I cannot have it, but it also them who, if they follow the real simple guidance, they will not get this diagnosis.
Yes, that's another excellent point, because what we're showing them is healthy habits. And again, if you suddenly take away that, the soda or the candy, or whatever, the those carby snacks are that we might crave, and they're used to going into the pantry or in the kitchen and getting those things, and suddenly they're not there, then they're going to wonder why. And that can end up leading to some conflict, some battles, like, why aren't you buying me this,
Yeah.
and so there could be some resentment. And I think that's where this communication is so important, because when we're talking to them, we're involving them. And that's the model that we want to show them as well, because as they grow into teens, we're going to really want to have that solid foundation of communication, and also that sense that they can trust us. And so it goes both ways. Trust is mutual, so that they feel like they can trust us to tell them what's important,
Mhm.
or going on with ourselves, because that's what we want them to do with us.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, look how we are moving along. I love every word that I and you are sharing. Thank you.
Of course.
So, okay, now there will be a question. Um, in your experience working with families and working with kids and parents, what what kind of help we can ask kids for as support system? They yes, I understand they may stop asking about those questions about the food that clearly is not helping their parents or grandparents. But what other kinds of help we can ask them for to do not overload them, do not make them feeling responsible, but at the same time feel helpful and useful and be a part of our like family unit that we have.
Well, I think you just said it right. Is first of all, looking at it as a team approach. And
Hmm.
so I think that with that, then we do ask them. In my house, one of the things that we always did was, as the kids were growing, is they would have chores to do. And that could be, anything from loading or unloading the dishwasher. They helped with laundry. They would sweep. They would take out the dog, things like that. And so that's also part of that self-care piece, and really letting our family know what our needs are.
Hmm.
So if, especially with diabetes in the beginning, it could have been that they were feeling more tired, and, right, letting their kids know, the family know, that they're going to need to have some extra, they might need to go and rest more. And so
Hmm.
having the kids take over some of the things that they normally might have, because in a family, everyone has something to contribute. And when you
Yes.
can make them feel like they're valued and what they're doing is really important to the way that the family functions, then that is also something that can then, for the person who is diabetic, can give them the support that they need.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and this is great point to feel included because I
Mhm.
know that sometimes I know in my family when we would be planning on something and just would not think that our kids need to know about it
Mhm.
and it maybe not even planning something is happening with our relatives or our friends and we didn't want to for them to worry about it. Our kids would get upset like why you didn't tell me, why do you think that I don't worry about this uncle or aunt or this cousin, and I do and I would like to know that they're okay, and when something is hiding from me because this is how I feel. My old when they got older, that's how they said it's like when they were 5 or 8 they just were not, they didn't know, but later we would be, why you never share with us that this person had this challenge. Why would never say that we could help somehow? So communication is so important. I agree with you. I know, when my husband was diagnosed with diabetes, um, I didn't know much what I know now. And I was trying to process and organize the activities in the house in the best possible way without including kids into there. Plus, they were pretty young. But I think if we did a better job, we probably would have less conflict overall in the family, because kids also felt something. They just didn't know what it is.
Well, it adds to their stress level because if they sense something that is wrong, then they don't know if it's something that they've done. They don't know if it's something really big, and our kids are very observant. I always say that they are students of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are paying attention, they're listening, they're seeing things. And when they feel that there's a sense of secrecy, then they wonder.
Yes.
And then that can cause anxiety for them too. And also for us as parents, because we're carrying something big and we're
Mm-hmm.
not including our kids. And you mentioned that your kids were younger when your husband was diagnosed. And so, that's, I think, another piece of it is that we don't have to share everything with them. We don't have to share all the nitty gritty details. But
Yes.
I think you can share at what's an appropriate level for them,
Mm-hmm.
developmentally. So you're not going to say to your 5-year-old the same thing that you would say to your 12-year-old.
Yes.
And, so you can make it developmentally appropriate, but
Mm-hmm.
also give them information that they need so that they can understand what might be going on behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. Well, you grow, you learn. And one of the reasons why I started this Facebook group, and we are organizing those events that we have and the podcast to bring as much information out as it possible, with the hope that more people will catch some here and some there. And as a result, it may trigger their curiosity, and they will learn a little bit more on their own, or they will start asking questions, or making some, sharing the information that they learned. So this is something that I always know that if I knew as much as I know now in the past, our family probably will go in a very different route. But I knew as much as I was able to collect from little brochures that I saw in doctor's office, and this was not a fun activity.
Well, and I can say too that I was in my 20s when my mother was diagnosed with diabetes, and hers was related to a disease that she had, which is polycystic kidney disease.
Hmm.
And so, even as someone in my 20s, I knew that my parents were dealing with something and I wasn't quite sure what that was. So, even as an adult child, I
Uh-huh.
was looking at that and I'm like, something weird is going on here. And I didn't know what it was. And so then the mind just, goes and it's like, I was like, okay, are they really, is one of them really sick and they don't want to say something? And so my stress level, my anxiety level was really high. And I remember when they sat down and had this discussion with my sister and I, that I felt really actually empowered. I felt like there was something that I could do, that I
Uh-huh.
could support my mom, that I could, offer to come over one weekend because I was living in another state, but it was 2 hours away, that I could go and I could help maybe do some things around the house on the weekend to make
Mhm.
her life easier and to make it easier for my dad as well. And I felt
Yeah.
very involved. I felt included, like you had mentioned earlier. And that was really something that was a turning point in our family.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. Because we sometimes we just oversee the different ways how other people can help us, and of course we do not want to load kids with responsibilities for our health, but at the same time, if they know that by simply not asking to purchase these cupcakes every day when they're in the grocery store. And if they know that by simply um, not complaining that again this weekend we are going to the mountains and I want to play on the computer. So if they know that this is actually helping, they might uh, first of all, this is family activities. If kids in the house for this short limited period of time and then they gone. But it also brings family together, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
even it's great when there are healthy families and they start strong and they keep going and doing that. But if your family wasn't that way in the past, there is always a way to turn it around and make it this way, right?
Absolutely. I don't think it's ever too late. And, you know, one of the things that we can have is a conversation about maybe why we had that resistance to talking about those things in the past too. And
Mm-hmm.
so I realized like in my family that we didn't always talk about certain things. And so, having that conversation with my parents when I was in my 20s made a huge difference. And then it gave me a different lens to look at my childhood as well.
Uh-huh.
Maybe why they didn't do certain things or why they did do other things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave me more compassion. And I think it brought us together closer as a family. And in my case, my mom did die when I was in my mid 30s. And so that was something that, you know, um, that because I did know, I felt like I had given my best to her
Uh-huh.
instead of having some regrets looking
Yes.
back on it that because I didn't know that maybe I wasn't as sensitive to things that she did ask for, that the help that she did need. So I came away from that feeling at peace, even though she died, young. She died when she was 60.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. This is good piece of information, and thank you for bringing it up because I'm back to what I started with today. So often, people when they get this diagnosis, they feel ashamed. They feel guilty, and they are saying, "I don't want to bring this on my family. I will be dealing with it by myself. They don't have to pay for my mistakes." But this is a self-harming approach. I feel like this because it's not only helping others, but it also receiving the help that is brings people together and it helps to carry the burden, carry the news, the challenge. Um, this is I can talk about it back and forth all the time because this is so important, and diabetes can be it's not just one thing only what is in your refrigerator and pantry, right? But also about family or not family physical activities. It also about feeling stressful sometimes. And if people know that maybe you have today bad blood sugar readings and that's what causes your irritability, they may back up instead of confronting you more and more and bringing you to ER visit at the end, so and then feeling guilty that they've done it. But if they were informed that this is serious, this is something that we all need to know about. Plus, partially diabetes is, if you don't take care of it, doctors are saying, latest the research is showing that diabetes very rarely is hereditary. What is hereditary is the lifestyle that family has. That's what
absolutely.
kids learn. And if they don't change it anyhow, and they know that their parents have this diabetes and they continue doing the same thing, they will get diabetes as well later in life. So all this communication is very important, and information and participation together.
And I think when we look at it from the perspective too of what legacy do we want to leave with our kids, and when I say this, it doesn't mean that it has to be something that's, you know, it's not monetary. What
Yes,
it is, you know, those memories, that those experiences, those skills that our kids will need to be successful in their own lives, and successful not just by getting a good job or anything like that, but just how they approach living. You
yes,
know, are they resilient? And when I talk about resilience, I'm not talking about just bouncing back from something, but being able to recognize the feelings and emotions that they have and processing those. And you know, and then how that goes into their
don't
um,
worry.
um, how that goes into the choices that they make.
Yes, yes, definitely. Uh, Mindy has puppy, and this puppy just cannot wait any longer. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mindy, for talking about this. I feel this is a very important conversation to have periodically with our members, with us ourselves, to remind ourselves about the challenges, about the responsibilities, and different options that we know. At this time, I will ask you one quick question, please. If you please let our listeners know how they can connect with you to continue conversation and maybe ask you some questions and learn more about you.
Certainly. So the audience can reach me at my website, which is mindygreencoaching.com. Or if you want to send me an email with some questions, I'm always happy to answer those and available. And you can find me at mindygreencoaching.com. And I do respond fairly quickly so that you can have those answers, and you can ask whatever it is that you need for support with your family, because I know that we live and very, it can feel like a very loud world. So we live
Yes,
in a world that takes up a lot of our energy. So yes, please do reach out if you have questions about how you can involve your family in your journey with diabetes.
absolutely. Thank you, Mindy. And just a little bit of a household things to take care of. I wanted to remind everyone that we have activities going on in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, every day, pretty much every day. So we do have the motivational Mondays on Mondays. We have the Telenurse Tuesdays on Tuesday, when people can actually go online and type their questions, and our nurses on staff will come back and they will respond to your questions. Or every other Wednesday, we have our support group meetings where we invite our members of our community to join us there and ask questions, share their wins or their challenges, and together we finding the some way that people can help themselves or where they can look for help. Very often we have healthcare professionals joining us there, so we could ask questions there. Obviously, every Thursday we have our Diabetically Speaking with SmartMove 360 podcast, where we invite again healthcare professionals to help us to learn more details or aspects about life with diabetes. On Fridays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, our very own Trevor Brown goes and leads these Fitness Fridays. He is talking about some exercises, some different physical activities that you can uh, start using in your life. And also, he is nutritionist, so he gives us some nutritional tips as well. Last Saturday, we had our Diabetic Healthcare Expo, and that's the Diabetes 101 crash course. This is where our experts are all come together and they share their information. The next expo will be in June, last Saturday of June. So if you missed the previous ones and somehow you cannot find the recordings, even though it's in the featured post in our Facebook group, come to the mark your calendar and join us on June 29th. where we will be discussing again lifestyle, self-care, importance of stress management and family involvement and community support, all these topics, plus a chef, live chef, will be cooking for us at Lunch and Learn. So this is something that I am always excited to talk about. But right now, we got to go. Mindy, thank you very much again for joining us today on the podcast. I'm looking forward to more meetings with you, and you already committed to be on our expo next time, so this is great. I am glad to know this. Everyone, share the podcast, listen the recordings, the replay, ask questions, and we will talk to you next Thursday.